Now, don't even go there with the little excuses like, well, I would never read that. Forget it, you do. I, in fact, had a gentleman come up to me once following one of these presentations, and to stereotype him, he was very corporate. He was about 55 years old, he was elegant and great, he was tall, he was wearing a gray suit, and he came up to me, and he took me aside, and he whispered in my ear, I subscribe. Here's the question. Would I jump again today? Work style is one of the things that brings vibrancy to the workplace. You are going to work with people that work so differently than you. And what do we care about? We care about very finite amount of things. Are they getting the job finished? Are they doing it to the quality level that is important for you as an organization? And are they doing it in a timely fashion? That's all we care about. It doesn't matter how they get there, all right? It doesn't make any difference because we're all working toward that common goal.
Dr. Sondra Thiederman, opening gateways to understanding. Dr. Sondra Thiederman is one of the nation's leading experts on bias-free leadership, workplace diversity, and cross-cultural business. She says what matters in a way your audience can hear and understand.
But let me tell you one little story about how looking for what we can share can impact us. And this is a lighter story that happened to me 3 or 4 years ago. It may seem silly to you, but watch for the main point. I think it's something that all of us can practice. I had been doing a all-day workshop in Washington, D.C., and I was flying home out of what was then called National Airport, and I needed to get something to read on the airplane. And I walked into the magazine kiosk to find a magazine to read, and you might think, doing what I do, that I would be looking for something reasonably intelligent or something kind of businessy, like Fortune or at least Newsweek or U.S. News and World Report or something like that. But no, folks, forget it. It had been a long day. It was going to be a long flight. I was looking for my latest issue of People magazine. So I walked into the magazine kiosk and I looked around to find the latest issue, and I finally found them stacked against the wall, and there's like thousands of them. I don't know why. I don't know who buys them. I mean, everyone must. And I took the latest issue up off the stack, and I read what was on the cover. And when I read what was on the cover, I went into shock. Now, before I tell you why I was so upset, let me say this much. Some of you are going to agree with my reaction. Some of you are going to disagree with my reaction. And a whole bunch of you are going to say, why does this woman care? Well, we're doing diversity here, okay? So empathize, all right? On the cover, it said, quote, People magazine readers decide, Nick Nolte, sexiest man alive. I don't think so. And all I could think of is, what is the world coming to, and whatever happened to Sean Connery? Right? Now, when I have a trauma like this, when my whole value system is called into question, I need to vent it. I need to share. I can't call my poor husband 3,000 miles away in San Diego. He will think I've gone over the edge. So I stood there in the kiosk, and I kind of looked around to see if there was someone there who would be willing to listen to my troubles. And I noticed a young woman standing behind the counter. And at first I thought, nah, I don't think so. One, she looked to be about 18 years old. I figured she's not even going to know who Nick Nolte or Sean Connery are. Right? Two, she was dressed in traditional East Indian garb with the bindi spot on her forehead. I figured she's from another culture. She has completely different taste in men. And three, she was speaking to someone with a rather heavy accent. I figured she's not going to understand the words that I'm saying. Well, I don't know what happened. I guess I was desperate. I kind of staggered up to the counter. I dropped the magazine. I pointed to it. I looked up at her. I said, isn't this disgusting? She looked straight back at me, and she said, what is the world coming to, and whatever happened to Sean Connery? Now, is this an important issue? I don't think so. Is this a cosmic issue? Not really. However, if she and I worked together, could we have used that little window of a connection to form a relationship that would move us forward? You bet we could have. And if she were a potential client or customer of mine, could we have used that little bit of female silliness to create a bond upon which we could build? So one of my messages to you right here and right now is start to reach out to people.
Dr. Sondra Thiederman has 25 years of experience helping organizations develop solutions to their leadership and diversity challenges. Her thoughts have been featured in national publications, including the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, the Los Angeles Times, and USA Today. Her work has been published in professional journals, on the web, and in 4 books, including the groundbreaking Making Diversity Work: 7 Steps for Defeating Bias in the Workplace.
We parked our car on the street right by a stop sign. And just as I was opening the passenger side door and Tom was opening the driver's side door, a car pulled up beside us and it stopped at the stop sign. And Tom, nice man that he is, turned and looked at that car, and what he saw was a car that was absolutely derelict. I mean, the tires were bald, it was all dented, that weird rust stuff shining through, and it was a wreck. All 4 windows of this car were rolled down. There were 4 young African-American men in the car, and there was a music blasting out of those windows, like the whole universe was supposed to want to listen to this music. Tom turned his head around to me. I can still see his face over the top of that car, and he says, "Oh, I hate that rap music." But because the car had to stop at the stop sign, we were forced to listen to more of the music. And we began to hear, "Chicago, Chicago, that wonderful town." It was Frank Sinatra. And these young men were driving the streets of our city paying homage to my husband's favorite singer the day after he had died. But we couldn't hear it with our ears because our bias said we expected to hear something else.
With a Ph.D. in cross-cultural studies from UCLA, Sondra has helped leading organizations tackle their most pressing business challenges.
What kinds of judgments do we make of people? What kinds of judgments do we make of people who are multitaskers, people like me? You people that are focused, how do we drive you crazy? Just go ahead and vent. What do you think of us? We're hysterical, we're scattered, we're never going to get anything done. And you know sometimes it's true. You're looking, it's like 9 things at once. Hey, multitasking, got it going. Right? Now, okay, multitaskers, our turn. What do we think of these folks, like my husband, whom I love dearly, who can begin a task and work it through to completion, but if you try to talk to him, he stops doing, and you can keep going now. It's all right, we can do this once. We can drive the car and talk. No, it's not that bad, but it's okay. What do we think of those people? Come on. Boring. Thank you. Uncreative. Sometimes we even think they're stupid, okay? You know what? They're not. And I can be hysterical, but I'm generally not, okay? Work style is one of the things that brings vibrancy to the workplace. You're going to work with people that work so differently than you. And what do we care about? We care about very finite amount of things. Are they getting the job finished? Are they doing it to the quality level that is important for you as an organization? And are they doing it in a timely fashion? That's all we care about. It doesn't matter how they get there, all right? It doesn't make any difference because we're all working toward that common goal.
Because knowledge of diversity and bias reduction is essential for success in all aspects of business, Sondra's topics are perfect for any conference theme. From leadership to sales to managing change, she takes a fresh perspective that will make your audience laugh and think and change.
Maybe this person does understand. I learned this one particularly well when I was living in Los Angeles. I grew up in LA, and in the course of growing up in LA, I had about 5 experiences of being accosted by men on the street. Now, when I say accosted, I mean not call the cops accosted, but kind of not hi baby either. The women know what I mean. It's that creepy stuff in the middle. She's nodding, she knows. Okay, the creepy stuff in the middle where it's kind of, I don't want to be doing this, but okay. Demographically, and this is significant, 4 of these men were white. 1 was black. Hold that in your head, that matters. Just before I moved out of LA to move down here, I was walking up a street one day, broad daylight, very nice neighborhood, lots of people around me, walking a perfectly safe distance from the curb. And after a few minutes, I noticed that a car pulled up beside me, slowed down, and stopped. And just as I turned my head to look at the car, the driver lowered his head, and as soon as I saw that his skin was black, I jumped back. And then I had one of life's great moments in which this man looked at me with remarkable dignity and compassion and said, "That's okay, I understand." Asked for directions and proceeded to drive on up the street. As I walked on up the street, I got to thinking, well, Thiederman, this is just swell. This is how you make your living, and you're running around doing this. And then I thought, this is peculiar too. 4 of my bad experiences were with white men. You would think I'd be going, ooh, it's a white guy, watch out. But I don't do that. Because there was a little family message, not much, but just enough. There was something to be feared with a black man. And heaven knows the media, keeps us inundated with all of that. Here's the question. Would I jump again today? Truth, I honestly don't know. But I'll tell you this much. I'll bet you I'd feel the urge to jump. I'll bet you that there would be that little knot in my stomach that would go, whoop, okay. But here's what I ask of me, and here's what I would ask of you. That I would have the intelligence and the intellectual discipline and the heart and the wisdom and the awareness to take that urge, that bias, and shove it aside long enough to see this guy for who he was, which was a guy without a map and a man that was willing to ask for directions.
Sondra Thiederman motivates audiences and sends them away with specific skills that they can immediately apply to become better leaders, better team members, and better people. This 12-minute clip shows Sondra discussing material that was specifically requested by a client in the tourism industry. The needs of your industry and your organization are no doubt different. Perhaps you wish her to speak on broader bias reduction issues, on how bias impacts leadership, or any other number of related topics. With her 25 years of experience, Sondra is able to customize her presentations to meet your needs. She invites you to contact the person who sent you this tape to discuss the many options available.
Here's one example. Body language. Now, I used to be real snobbish about body language, I'll tell you. I used to say, well, that's not diversity, that's not academic, it's not a business issue. But the more I've worked in the corporate setting, the more I've come to realize that body language matters. For example, if I were to ask you this question, how would you answer it? How long do mainstream Anglo-Americans, people like me, I'm just about as white as they get. I'm just real typical. I even have a white car, it's just really bad. Anyway, no rhythm, nothing, it's not happening. So I'm a stereotype, okay? All right. And how long do mainstream Anglo, I'll make it women, let's make it narrower, women, maintain eye contact during a conversation before we look away? Like I talk to Gloria, and I'm talking to her, and at some point I get a little uncomfortable, I glance away, then I glance back. How long do you think that is? 3 seconds, perfect. Exactly right. 3 to 5 seconds roughly is what we do, all right? Have any of you ever noticed differences with other cultures? Just raise your hand, or personalities around eye contact. Just raise your hand if you have. Okay. Now, what does it mean in mainstream Anglo corporate culture when a person doesn't look you in the eye at all? When they don't even do it for the 3 seconds? What does it mean to us? What kinds of assumptions do we make about that person? They're insecure. They're not comfortable. They're hiding something. They're shifty. They're dishonest. If they're applying for a job, clearly they're lying about the qualifications. All right. Now, what does it mean, and this is a gross generality. I know I'm doing that for brevity. I know that. But what does it mean in general in that broad thing we'll call Asian cultures, when a person does not look you in the eye, what does it mean? Respect, period. All right? So your organization is interviewing someone to become a cast member. And that person is from a culture that says it is disrespectful to look a superior in the eye. And they are sitting there not looking you in the eye. Perhaps their handshake isn't a firm one because their culture feels that that's intrusive. And we begin to think, needs a shrink, lacking in confidence, isn't listening to me, doesn't care about getting the job, and is lying about their qualifications. Now, don't tell me that something like body language doesn't affect our business. Or you're dealing with a guest, and that guest is from a culture or has a personality that says, I want to stand very close to you in order to communicate to you, and I want to maintain extremely direct eye contact with you because I want to communicate with you. Not because I'm an aggressive person, not because I'm angry, but because my culture says that's how we do our relationship. And suddenly you've got a situation where one of your cast members thinks they have a conflict when they don't have a conflict, right? Body language matters. Now, you can say to me if you want, and I understand it, well, we're all in this country. How come people aren't learning that body language is different here than it is there, and maybe they need to adjust to live here? Well, even if you've got someone who's been here a long time or is visiting from another country and really thoroughly understands our culture that we have traditionally had in the past, that has changed, that they're still going to have an emotional reaction to body language. Now, I'm going to try to do something which is going to be a little tricky from this distance, but I'm going to give it a shot. Let me start with Gloria, just for the heck of a pick on her. Okay. If you can't see me, I am, put me up on the screen if you can. This will help. I am, going to be crooking my index finger at Gloria. Gloria, when I do that to you, do you like it? Do you want me to stop? What do you feel? I'm going to get down here. She doesn't look too happy. You don't look too happy. Okay. What are you feeling? Like you're wondering. Okay, how do you feel about it? You don't look too happy either. Okay. The other women at the table, do you have any reaction to this? Mary Beth, any reaction? Mother, okay. Thank you for saying something, because I have to tell you, the whole time I do that, I have a knot in my stomach. Here's why I have a knot in my stomach. This, in my culture, means a punitive parent or a patronizing kindergarten teacher, right? You are a bad girl, Gloria. You're bad, okay? That's what it means. I don't want to do it. Intellectually, I know I don't mean that by it. It still bothers me to do it. I believe that they, especially Gloria, whom I know the best of the group, knows I wouldn't do that to her, but it's still bothering her, all right? The reason I didn't do the men is, here I have a Ph.D. and I'm supposed to be smart, right? I used to try this with men in the group. It's a whole other thing, notice? Right? Isn't that weird? It's like, bizarre. Life tip, a Ph.D. does not buy you all types of intelligence, okay? Body language matters. Let's take a look at another type of difference here. Work style. Your business statements mention the importance of honoring different styles. And I want to talk about this for a minute. I'm going to talk about it in the context of gender. Understand I am generalizing. Understand that. I know you're intelligent enough to know that. And in order to do this, I am going to take you back in time to caveman times. Now, don't accuse me of being sexist. They were caveman times. Take my word for it. In just about every single culture on the planet, except for one or two, that's subject to debate, the men were dominant in that era. And here's what their life was like. The men did the hunting out in the jungle or the forest, and the woman hung back at the cave, taking care of the kids and doing foraging, all right, around. That's basically the way it's structured. Now, question to you. What does it take to be a good hunter? To be this man that's out there in the jungle and the woods tracking down game? What skills, aptitudes, abilities does it take, which would mean that that man would survive, would procreate the species, and would create new people. What does it take? Characteristics. Say it again. Focus, yes. What else? Courage, yes. Strength, you bet. Oh, what'd you say? A fast runner, you bet. Very bad. And it takes some aggressiveness, right? I mean, you got to admit it. It takes a little bit of aggressiveness. I mean, you can't be tracking the deer through the woods, and the deer turns around and looks at you, and you go, oh, cute. No, you shoot it. Okay. But focus. Focus is the main thing. You need to be able, as a hunter, to begin that task, work it through to completion without getting distracted. Now, back at the cave. What does it take for that woman to succeed at raising those kids and foraging for veggies and stuff like that, and surviving and procreating the species and making more little kids other than credit cards? Okay. What does it take? Yes. Perseverance, you bet. Patience, yes. What else? Compassion, yes. I'm sorry, what? Multitasking, absolutely. That's what I was after. You knew that. Multitasking. You need all this other stuff, but you need multitasking. As you're looking for a particular herb, you need to be able to be scanning all the different colors and textures in the ground at the same time. You need to have good peripheral vision. You need to, when you're taking care of all those little children, you've got, say, 10 of them, you need to be able to suddenly notice that there's dust disturbed on the windowsill and someone's gone off on a date. I mean, you need to notice that kind of thing, right? Let's take this analogy forward in time, all the way through the centuries. We are now at 1985. We are standing outside my house, 4585 48th Street, San Diego, California. I have married my husband, second marriage. We have brought to this marriage 2 teenage girls. Bless us. Okay. And they both live with us. And they are almost the identical age, all right? Well, we're raising them, and it's going along okay, all right? And finally, though, we needed a break. So we decided that we would go away for the weekend, and we would leave them, okay, alone. And I said, I don't know what decade I thought I was living in. I handed my daughter $20, you know, and I said, rent videos and don't have anyone over. I don't know what, you know, what I think she was going to do, go watch the Mickey Mouse Club or something? It just, well, we went for the weekend. We had a nice time. We came back. We pulled the car into the driveway. We unloaded the car. We walked up on the porch, and we opened the front door, and we walked into the living room. That living room was supernaturally clean. You know what I mean? It had never been that clean before, and quite frankly, it has never been that clean since, right? I become alert to that something is amiss. And with very little hesitation at all, my eye is drawn to the one object in the room that is out of place. It is a tiny, round object about 1.25 inches in diameter. It is almost obscured in the pattern of the oriental rug, hidden half in the shadow underneath the skirt of the couch, and I see it. And I walk over to it, and I bend down, and I pick it up. Beer bottle cap. Busted. Now, before I tell you what happened, let me just vent this for the moment. I don't know what upset me more, the fact that they disobeyed me and had the party, or the fact that they were so stupid that they took all the bottles and put them in our trash. Now, I don't know what was I saying. Well, anyway, after we were done with the screaming and the yelling and Mommy, you don't trust me, and you're grounded for 99 years and all that kind of stuff, my husband and I retreated to the bedroom. And he looked at me and he said, "How did you ever notice that beer bottle cap?" And I said, "Babe, it's a girl thing." He never would have noticed it. I am a multitasker. I'm a stereotype, like I said. In a general, profoundly broad stroke way, women kind of do tend to be multitaskers, and men do tend to be more focused on one task at a time. But forget that for the moment. It doesn't matter. The truth is that work style is the forgotten diversity issue, and you are sitting next to people that probably drive you nuts sometimes, right? Now, what kinds of judgments do we make of people? What kinds of judgments do we make of people who are multitaskers, people like me? You people that are focused, how do we drive you crazy? Just go ahead and vent. What do you think of us? We're hysterical, we're scattered, we're never going to get anything done. And you know sometimes it's true. You're looking, I mean, it's like 9 things at once. Hey, multitasking, going, right? Now, okay, multitaskers, our turn. What do we think of these folks, like my husband, whom I love dearly, who can begin a task and work it through to completion, but if you try to talk to him, he stops what he's doing. And you can keep going now. It's all right, we can do this once. We can drive the car and talk. No, it's not that bad, but, okay. What do we think of those people? Come on. Boring. Thank you. Uncreative. Sometimes we even think they're stupid, okay? You know what? They're not. And I can be hysterical, but I'm generally not, okay? Work style is one of the things that brings vibrancy to the workplace. You're going to work with people that work so differently than you. And what do we care about? We care about very finite amount of things. Are they getting the job finished? Are they doing it to the quality level that is important for you as an organization? And are they doing it in a timely fashion? That's all we care about. It doesn't matter how they get there, all right? It doesn't make any difference because we're all working toward that common goal.
For more information on Dr. Sondra Thiederman, please contact the person who sent you this video.